All right, Harry. Mary, the mother of Jesus, right? How old was she when she had Jesus?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you that question. What do you think?
I've heard around 15 years old, that area.
Yeah, I've heard those numbers mentioned before too. What is the legal age today?
18, right? In Canada, at least.
Yeah, and it used to be 21 when I was a kid. How come we have a legal age?
So I would say mostly to do with responsibility and the adulthood of a brain to make responsible decisions.
Yeah. John the Baptist, how old was he when he started his ministry?
He was a Levite, so he would have to have been 30 years old to get into ministry work.
What about Jesus?
Jesus as well. He was also 30, right?
That's right. And Jesus couldn't speak like in those days to be able to speak. Normally, just anybody to speak in the synagogue, you had to be 30 years of age. That was a requirement, as you had to be a mature, sensible person. So, what about our brain? Do you know what they say about our brain when it's completely mature?
So they say, I think it's around the age of 25 to 28 when it's fully matured.
Yeah, yeah. So the question I have, how hard a job was it that Mary was facing when Gabriel the angel came and said and off well not offered her, told her what was going to happen in her life?
That would be a really big situation to handle, right? If we think about it, carrying the child who is the Messiah, the one that they've always thought about, the promised child, that'd be quite some responsibility.
Yeah, and then also being pregnant without an official husband because that's
Even, yeah, especially back then, the consequences of that was stoning them to death, like, not having a husband and being pregnant.
and how about explaining that to her parents? She was a good girl, right?
Oh, that would be like, imagine, like, I couldn't even think of, no, I'm serious. Like, that would be really tough.
Yeah. So then when she was full term and they had to go to Bethlehem, how big a project was that?
Well, Bethlehem, we say, how far away is Bethlehem?
125K approximately.
Oh man, that's quite the walk at full, pretty much almost ready to give labor. That's a quite an extensive walk.
She likely rode a donkey, but still, what a job. And that's not for the faint of
Mhm.
heart. So what do they know about Bethlehem? How well would she know that town?
Well, they didn't travel much back then in that time, so and they weren't exuberantly rich, so we would say probably never been there.
Yeah, I would think so. And why was there no room in the inn?
Well, that would be because it was God's will, I would say. God didn't want. I find it interesting. The reason why Jesus was born in the manger was because he came in as a king and out of as a king. We were saying this, and God's perfect will was to show that this king is a different type of king than what we would think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and how hard was it for them to have to give birth in a barn?
Oh, that'd be horrible. You're carrying the Messiah, God. She literally knows she's carrying God in her stomach, and he's being born in around animals, for example, like
Uh,
humbling.
and what about the shepherds? Would they be able to find Joseph and Mary in the barn?
Well, especially, of course, right? When the angels talked to them and said that, they would know exactly the surrounding areas. Doesn't matter if it's nighttime, daytime. They could go there with their eyes closed.
And how important was that for Mary to get that message of the angels
Oh,
speaking
it'd
to?
be comforting, right? For sure. Like she just went through all this trauma, we'll call it, and then next thing you know, she at least found some hope in it.
Yeah. And then what the wise men came, and then they had to go to Egypt. How hard was that?
I don't know how far Egypt is from where they were.
What, 400K?
400 kilometers. That's a journey.
Yeah. And what about the language in Egypt? Would they know that, the culture?
They didn't speak the same language there, I'm assuming.
No, I don't think so. I don't
That's
wouldn't.
definitely another experience.
Yeah, and how could they even afford it?
Well, actually, the wise men gave them those three gifts, right? The gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So I would believe that those were expensive gifts to a king, so that they possibly God provided is what it comes down to it.
And then in Luke 138, Mary accepts the challenge. She's let it be to me, as you say, to aim to the. So she's signing the contract. And
Mhm.
God would make sure that he picks somebody that could legally and appropriate, not legally, but appropriately
Know
do
what
the
they're
other.
talking about, at least, like signing up for.
Yeah, she was signing up for a huge, huge project. Now my question is, one more time, how old do you think she was?
By the sounds of it, when we break it down like that, I would say she's not a kid. She's definitely not a kid. How
I
old do you
believe,
think?
yeah, I believe that I'll answer now. I believe she had to be at least 20, maybe even 22 to 24. That was a huge, huge
It's a lot of
project.
responsibility, isn't it?
Absolutely huge. She had to be really, really strong. We knew she was a very virtuous woman. That is a
Mhm.
given. But she had to be a strong woman too to handle that project.
Right. Like you can't see a 14-year-old going through that extensive type of stuff that we just talked about.
Joseph didn't need two children with him.
Yeah, I didn't we don't play like God. He's not a got you God, like, where he's sitting there like using a 14-year-old for
Oh, no, 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 no. They had to be equal partners in this project,
Mhm.
and she, well, I mean, equal, whatever. But I mean, you know what I mean. She had
Mhm.
a large, large load there. So, anyways, I love that topic, but I think she was a really strong, mature lady.
Awesome. Thanks, Harry.